name is Amy, your host for today. If you are a new member, please accept our wholehearted welcome. If you have any questions about our practice and topics, we're all here to help. And if you are a regular, welcome back. It is customary in Australia to begin any meetings by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. So in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we walk, study, and reside, the Widi people of the Darawal Nation, and pay my respect to the elders past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are. The check-in session have been developed by our Communities of Practice team and the entire community. These sessions aim to develop a reflective practice in response to changes. Guided by humanistic Buddhism, we would like to cultivate our practice and build memorable friendships. For the next few months, we will be presenting the youth series. It will be wonderful to hear more dialogues of the youth voices at each session, as well as the wider voice of the community. For this week's youth series, we are excited to have Alex Trauth-Goik to present his topic on the paradox of abundance, balancing short-term pleasure with lasting fulfillment. Alex is a postdoctoral researcher at the Department of East Asian Studies at the University of Vienna. Please join me in welcoming Alex.
Well, a very good morning to you all. It's a very early morning here. I'm in Vienna currently. It's just past 2 in the morning. And so I please ask or request that you forgive me for any mishaps that I may make. I am speaking to you now with bleary eyes. But don't be deceived by my outerwear. I am wearing my pajama pants as I promised Priscilla. If you're also wearing your pajama pants, please be free to share this in the chat, for I commend you. Now, before beginning, I would like to lead us through a brief meditative practice that I learned from the patron saint of scientific fact, Dr. Andrew Huberman. You can see here there are 4 steps to this process. There's a deep inhalation through your nose where you try and get in as much air as possible. Then immediately following that, you inhale with a short second breath through the nose just to really top up how much air is already in your lungs. Then you exhale slowly, completely through your mouth, through thinly parsed lips, letting out all the air. And then you repeat that process 3 times or as much as needed to relax. So this is proven to get you into a parasympathetic state of calm, focused relaxation. And that's a state we will continue to try and cultivate during this session. So firstly, I'm going to now demonstrate what this looks like. And that's 1 round. Okay, so we're going to commence this. I like to do it personally with my eyes shut, so please make sure you're in a safe space to do that. Okay, so counting down in 3, 2, 1, we'll have this first deep inhalation. 3, 2, 1. Deep inhalation through your nose. Really fill up those lungs as much as possible. Okay, good. Now that second deep breath through the nose, good. Hold now for 2 or 3 seconds. 2, 3. And a slow exhalation completely through thinly parsed lips. Beautiful. Okay, and now we'll get into round 2. Deep inhalation through the nose. Second deep inhalation through the nose. Get as much air as you can in. Hold. And now a slow exhalation through thinly parsed lips. Very, very good. Final round. Make this round your best round yet, people. Deep inhalation through your nose. Second deep inhalation. Get as much in as possible. Go, go, go. Hold. And now a deep exhalation through thinly parsed lips. Nice and slow. Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, I can see some smiling faces in the digital crowds, so hopefully that was a success. So today we are going to be talking about abundance. Here's a common dictionary definition for abundance that I found: an extremely plentiful or oversufficient quantity or supply. And I've underlined this word oversufficient here because I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that abundance is not always positive. In fact, abundance can be detrimental to our long-term being. And after discussing this somewhat of a paradox, I'll then be explaining how compassion can be a vehicle to harness abundance in a healthy and balanced way. So we know that humans evolved to cope with the struggle for survival. Our ancestors were constantly on the move. We evolved to be highly active, seeking out food and shelter. We also evolved in conditions of extreme scarcity. If we ever came across honey, we would gorge on as much of the gleaming substance as possible because we didn't know where our next meal would come from. And we had a very short-term time horizon, right? Most people didn't survive past infancy. If they did, they were lucky to make their 30th birthday. And because of this, our flight, fight, freeze response evolved to deal with short-term immediate concerns and imperatives. Of course, living in today's age of abundance, I would wager that there would be very few of you, perhaps none of you, that would like to go back to those hunter-gatherer times of scarcity. We do have a lot to be grateful for in the sense that our immediate needs and concerns are met, particularly if we live in advanced economies such as Australia or Austria. We have the ability to focus on higher order needs and interests. If you can envisage Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Maslow contended that with the coming age of abundance, we now have the ability to self-actualize and to pursue interests and our individual proclivities that are most aligned with our unique character. So there's a lot to be grateful for, and abundance definitely has brought us so much. Yet at the same time, we are met with a paradoxical condition in which we are simply not evolved to deal with all of this stimulus and this environment that we have created for ourselves. The other dimension to this is that we also have an economic system that profits from our illness, whether that is physical or mental. Pharmaceutical companies benefit from there being sick people, fast food companies from unhealthy people. The porn industry benefits from there being lonely people, in the same vein that social media companies benefit from keeping us glued to our screens rather than seek out real embodied connection. So we evolved to deal with the struggle for survival, and yet we find ourselves in a struggle with abundance. And we should ask ourselves, is this abundance really serving human needs, or is it in fact hijacking these human needs? Gabor Mate is one proponent of the latter position. Gabor contends that illness in this society, physical or mental, are not abnormalities. They are normal responses to an abnormal culture. This culture is abnormal when it comes to real human needs. It is in the nature of the system to be abnormal because if we had a society geared to meet human needs, would we be destroying the earth through climate change? Would we be putting extra burden on certain minority people? Would we be selling people a lot of goods that they don't need and in fact are harmful for them? Would there be mass industries based on manufacturing, designing and mass marketing toxic food to people? Now, I am a dear fan of Gabor Mate, but I also believe that the world can be better than it ever has been before, and simultaneously unjust and in crisis. Believing that the world will soon meet its end and that we will lose to the worst aspects of our humanity is a path paved with cynicism and hopelessness. Yet believing that a utopia is within reach is road built with the brick of blind optimism and the mortar of starry-eyed yet ignorant conviction. As if we were party to a respectful conversation, I think that a better approach to this is that we need to do away with the strictness of these viewpoints, remain humble and acknowledge that our beliefs could be wrong, and that presently we have the potential for both great promise and great ruin. Of course, in this space, it's also apt to discuss the rise of artificial intelligence. Incredibly useful tool currently. I used it to generate the images for this PowerPoint presentation, for example. As you can see in this image here, it's not quite up to the task yet, and there are still errors when I asked a ChatGPT, for example, through a prompt to create an image depicting AI replacing humans. It has not managed to do the job today, but it's also very important to realize that artificial intelligence today is as dumb as it is ever going to be. And there is essentially an arms race between Silicon Valley and other technological hubs and countries around the world, in which the imperative is to get us to a state of super intelligence as quickly as possible and to fuel as much money, energy, and resources into that feat as possible. And it's also quite alarming, to be honest, that these are the same companies that also brought us social media. Social media, similarly, a tool of great utility. We can't imagine the world without it today, and yet it definitely was not something that was without its harms that we're beginning to unpack. So what's a common response to dealing with this abundance and with having to face the fact that there's this evolutionary mismatch between the state of scarcity that we evolved to live in and the concrete jungle that we find ourselves in today? Shame can be a common feature in today's society. Notions such as, why is it that I can't control myself? That I'm bad because I do too much of, you name your kind of behavior. We all know people in our own lives with their own struggles in dealing with abundance, whether it be a drug addiction or an addiction with watching too much of their screens, you name it. That if others knew about this behavior, there's this fear that you would be rejected, and maybe also a sense of guilt in the sense that you have the world at your fingertips. How is it that you can still be unhappy? These are definitely thoughts that have ping-ponged around my mind at different times. But I've learned over time to learn how to be more compassionate with myself and patient with other people. A compassionate frame of mind in dealing with abundance would recognize that we're human and that we're imperfect, that we're living in very different conditions to those that we have evolved to deal with, that the behavior that we're struggling with is so compelling, likely because it's designed to be that way. And so this isn't necessarily a lack of your or my self-control, and that we can also allow ourselves to enjoy some of these pleasures, but not at the expense of our long-term fulfillment and flourishing. This is something that I borrowed from James Clear. And James Clear is an author who sends out a weekly newsletter with all kinds of interesting tidbits. But he distinguished between wanting and liking, where wanting is the desire you feel before doing something, and liking is the satisfaction you feel after doing something. And here are some examples. You may not want to exercise, but you like how it makes you feel. You may not want to be entertained scrolling through social media, but you don't like seeing people online having fun without you. You may want to binge watch your favorite TV show, but you don't like how drained and unproductive you feel afterward. And you may want to shop online for things you don't really need, but you don't like the financial stress it causes when your bank account takes a hit or the feeling of wasting resources. And so in the context of abundance and balancing our short-term pleasure with our lasting fulfillment, a good way in which we can implement this in a personal practice is to focus on our likes and not our wants necessarily, and to let our likes take precedence and to guide us. And so this is the point I'd like to leave us at for the breakout rooms. I'd like to know, what aspect of our modern struggle with abundance do you find most difficult, and how do your wants, or the desire you feel before doing something, interfere with your likes, the satisfaction you feel after doing something? Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Alex. Now we will be placed in groups of 3 to 4 to share and discuss. In the discussion, we recommend you to spend some time to get to know each other and then discussing our questions. There will be Zoom notification to guide you, but feel free to let the flow of your discussion guide you. Our sessions are guided by metta, which is unconditional love and kindness for all sentient beings. Let's use the breakout session to express and receive loving kindness to and from one another, and take the time to pause, share, and listen. We'll also ask you to share some of your findings with a larger group at the end of the breakout discussion. So now, let's go to our breakout rooms for a rich and nourishing discussion. See you all back in 15 minutes. Welcome back. We invite you to share your thoughts on your group discussions or reflections on the topic of the paradox of abundance. We really hope the check-in session was helpful to you, and we hope you experienced the unconditional love and compassion of this community. But for anyone who might be experiencing a greater need than what today could meet, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and you can also reach out to the professional organization on the screen. Next week, we welcome Jasmine Brinsmed to share the topic of building a business founded on humanistic values. Be sure to join in on this wonderful topic. An announcement that the next Humanistic Buddhism Special Interest Group meeting takes place via Zoom this coming Tuesday, October 15th at 2 p.m. You're all welcome to join this meeting. As we check out today, let's recite the dedication of merits together to send love and compassion to whoever is in need.
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
Thank you, Alex, for your time and presentation with us today. Thank you, Lai Ching, for being our IT master behind the scene. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Now we will have our usual plenary session. So please stay around if you have time. Otherwise, see you again next Sunday at 11 a.m.